cost of living in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 2024. Is it still true that Chattanooga is one of the most affordable places to live in the United States? In this video, we're gonna go over that. So much of the information in this video is number one, from my personal experience and just living here and having to afford to live here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but also from a few resources, one being bestplaces.net and the other, the Federal Reserve. So jumping right into it, according to bestplaces.net, Chattanooga is still 10.3% less expensive from a holistic point of view than the US average. This is including housing, transportation like gas, groceries, utilities, daycare, healthcare, things of that nature. Jumping more into the specifics, we're gonna start off with housing because housing is likely the number one thing that you're gonna be spending your money on. Starting off with rent. The median rent for a 3-bedroom house is going to be around $2,000 a month. However, this is largely dependent on your immediate location and where you are renting. If you are going to rent a newer house in a nice area, you're gonna expect to pay at least $2,500 or more. Now let's talking about buying a home and your purchasing power here in Chattanooga. Right now in July 2024, the median home price in all of Chattanooga, that's considering each suburb in Chattanooga, is right around $390,000. Now, jumping into the history of the housing market here in Chattanooga, if we take a look at this chart from the Federal Reserve, you'll see that ever since the 90s, or 80s rather, housing prices have steadily gone up. We saw a little bit of a dip and then a leveling out in the 2008 era. However, the people who have owned since 80s, 90s, early 2000s and have stuck with it and are in it for the long run, they have seen some massive appreciation and a ton of equity buildup. I get a lot of questions from people who are waiting for the right time to buy. Truthfully, the real estate market is very cyclical throughout the year. The market as a whole goes through a yearly cycle where you see a lot more transactions during one part of the year and a lot less transactions through other parts of the year. Now, one of the times throughout the year where you would consider the real estate market to be more hot is during the springtime. During this time, you'll see a lot more people starting to sell their houses. You'll see a lot more inventory coming on the market. However, for example, this spring, because there were a lot more listings coming out on the market, there was also a lot more competition and a lot of people coming out of the woodworks ready to buy. There were multiple occasions where we ran into multiple offer situations. So yes, it's great when the real estate market is hot and there's more inventory and there's more sellers, but there's also more buyers coming out of the woodworks and there's a lot more competition. Now, when the market slows down a little bit in midsummer and then during the winter, the downside is, yes, there is less inventory across the board. However, there is a lot of times less competition from buyers as well. So to be honest with you, it is nearly impossible to time the market and find the right time to buy. I tell my clients that if you are financially and emotionally ready to purchase a home, then you should just go ahead and purchase a home. There's never going to be a perfect time. Ray Brown, a seasoned real estate investor, said it best. The best time to buy real estate was always 5 years ago. And guys, if you are looking to move to the Chattanooga area, I am a licensed realtor, so feel free to contact me in any of the ways down below and I'll be absolutely happy to help. I am the one answering those phone calls and emails, and I would love the opportunity to earn your business. So contact me down below. Now let's compare housing costs and overall costs of living if you are moving from one other major city in the United States to Chattanooga. We're gonna start off with Los Angeles, California. Right now, I am on NerdWallet, and we're gonna use this as a metric in order to determine your purchasing power if you are moving from one of these cities to Chattanooga. Now, say you earn $100,000 in Los Angeles, just for easy numbers. In order to live the same exact quality of life and same exact lifestyle as you did in LA, you'd only need to make around $60,000 here in Chattanooga. Now, as you can see here, NerdWallet's data is not exactly super accurate, but it's kind of there and you get the point, right? So housing costs is one of the biggest differences obviously here, right? LA, in order to live and purchase a house in LA, it costs so much more money than if you were to just purchase in Chattanooga. And as you can see here with transportation, healthcare, food, and entertainment, I mean, you're just gonna be spending a lot less in Chattanooga. Now let's jump from Phoenix to Chattanooga. If you were to move from Phoenix to Chattanooga, Tennessee, the housing costs are going to be about 26% lower in Chattanooga versus Phoenix. Your transportation costs are going to be about 16% lower, food 8% lower, entertainment 6% less expensive, and healthcare about 4% less expensive. Now, if you're moving from Austin, Texas to Chattanooga, Tennessee, if you're making $100,000 in Austin, then you'd only need to be making about $90,000 in Chattanooga in order to live the same lifestyle. When it comes to housing, Chattanooga is about 21% less expensive than Austin. Transportation is about 4% lower. Food costs are about 1% lower, and healthcare is about 6% lower. Moving further east, we're gonna be moving from Chicago now. So if you're making $100,000 in Chicago, you'd only need to be making around $77,000 in Chattanooga to live the same lifestyle. Housing costs are going to be 38% lower in Chattanooga. Transportation is going to be 19% less expensive. Food costs about 7% less expensive. Entertainment around 20% less expensive. And healthcare about 16% less expensive. Now, I'm sure you guys are starting to get the point here. We're gonna move down south, down to Florida. We're gonna go over a couple cities here. We're gonna go over Tampa, and we're gonna go over Miami. So if you're making $100,000 in Tampa, you're only going to need to make $92,000 in Chattanooga, again, to live the same lifestyle. Housing is going to be about 14% lower. Transportation is about 14% lower, and every single other category is lower as well in Chattanooga. Miami will be the last city that we'll go over, and this will probably come to no surprise to some of you, but in order to make the same amount or to live the same exact lifestyle in Chattanooga versus Miami at a 100K salary, you'd only need to make around $76,000 in Chattanooga. Now, coming in at the top, most significant part about all this is, again, housing. So housing in Chattanooga is going to be about 43% lower than in Miami. That's really not even including property taxes. We're gonna go over that in a second. And then in every other single category, as you can see here, 15% for transportation, 7% for food costs, 16% lower for entertainment costs, and 7% lower for healthcare costs. This doesn't really surprise me though. I actually used to live in Miami, Florida, and it was definitely way more expensive out there. Now let's talk about taxes for a second. Although housing will be the most expensive thing that you're going to be spending your money on, at least it can be somewhat enjoyable. Taxes are, in my opinion, just not enjoyable at all, but it is something that you'll have to pay, and it matters where you live, right? So Tennessee does not have a state income tax, which is amazing. However, it does have a sales tax. And in my opinion, the sales tax is pretty dang high. So in Hamilton County, when you include the state tax and the county tax, the sales tax is going to be about 9.25%. That's a 7% state tax and a 2.25% county tax. The time that you really notice this big sales tax is during big purchases. Like if you buy a vehicle, for example, you really start to feel that sales tax with those big purchases. However, the property tax here in Chattanooga is relatively low. So here's how property taxes work here in Chattanooga. You will have a county tax, and then you will also have a city tax unless you are living in an unincorporated area. The Hamilton County property tax rate sits at around $2.24 per $100 in assessed value. That ends up being an effective tax rate around 0.559%, which is about half the national average. Now, what you'll notice is the closer you are to downtown Chattanooga or any major city, the higher your property tax rate will be. So for example, let's say you are purchasing a $500,000 property. If you're living close to downtown Chattanooga, your property tax is going to be about $4,000. However, if you go outside of Chattanooga and you live in a place like Ottawa or Appleton, your property tax rate is going to be cut essentially in half. So instead of paying $4,000 if you're living close to downtown Chattanooga, you're gonna be paying around $1,800 to $2,000 a year in those further out areas. And again, this property tax rate is really determined on where your immediate location is. So how this works is the county pretty much has a cap on how much property tax that they can collect each year. So although properties are assessed every 4 years and your property tax is subject to change, it doesn't necessarily mean that your property tax is going to go up. Property taxes honestly relatively stayed the same for the last several years. And that is the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it brought some value to you. If it did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below if I missed anything. And again, guys, I am a licensed realtor here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So if you are looking to move to Chattanooga, feel free to contact me in any of the ways down below. I am the one answering those emails and phone calls, and I love helping you guys out. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.